We believe that healthcare is universal. Everyone should have access to good medical advice regardless of their locations.
So during my many years of medical practice, more often than not, when we get a certain sign or symptom, not many people actually go and immediately investigate it.
At Dr. On Call, you can get connected to our network of doctors and specialists within minutes through any mobile devices, whether you're at home, in the office, or on the go.
The platform is designed so that patients can easily find the right doctors. For the doctor, we ensure that the platform is safe, secure, and they can very simply manage their patients via remotely or even in person.
By having this teleconsult, patient can actually have a continued medical care, and this can actually save their life.
As the pioneer of telehealth in Malaysia, we always believe in closing the patient care gap through telehealth. For instance, our newly launched Doc at Home service would enable patients to book physical screening and lab diagnostic from the comfort of their homes. And this is especially crucial during this time of pandemic, where we want to keep our parents, kids, and loved ones safe.
So the platform is simple enough for doctors like us to go online, do a medical consultation in between our physical patients in the clinic.
In future, this is the way forward toward looking towards the telehealth and management, where we can overcome a lot of difficulties.
Now, as far as I am concerned, I can give uninterrupted medical advice to them. Isn't that easy for both parties?
During these difficult times, we strive to ensure that everyone stays safe without compromising their need for medical care, medication, as well as other healthcare services.
And also we can prescribe some of the initial medication online. So the patient can get treated to a certain degree before they come and see a doctor.
Our vision is to reshape and redefine healthcare. We believe in the power of technology to create better patient experience and continuity of care. We design our service for the patients to get the right service, right treatment at the right time.
During a pandemic like this, it is important not only that we should ensure the safety of patients, but healthcare professionals and doctors as well. Gone are the days where patients wait for hours in a long and busy clinic. These days, we want a seamless experience. Get an appointment booked online, see a doctor at the shortest possible time, and then get going with life.
We have never had something like this before. Upon doing the services, the patient will actually get their blood test done at their home, and the doctor is able to review their blood tests via Dr. On Call platform, or if required, they are called into the clinic. So that's pretty amazing if you ask me. You don't actually need the patient to come twice, once just to take blood and then come again. So it's very convenient for the patients, and my patients are very happy. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome for our webinar today, Is My Liver in Danger? This webinar is brought to you by Dr. On Call and Thomson Hospital, Kota Damansara. So very good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host today, and I'm Dr. Sashini. So can I see everybody who is here tuning in with us to type in the chat box, tell me your name and tell me where you are zooming in from. Right, ladies and gentlemen? Can I see who's here? I see Mila Sharmila, hi. Are you Dia? Ahmad Shafiq, Fidaus, Dia, Mekuna, Norsha. Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar today. So today's topic is actually pretty interesting. All right. Is my liver in danger? It's all about the liver, not a very common topic that we usually talk about. In Malaysia, it's usually about the heart, diabetes, obesity. These are the common topics, but it appears that liver is a rising concern in Malaysia currently. All right. So those of y'all who are here tuning in with us, feel free to type in the chat box where you're tuning in from. All right. We will address you. So back to our topic. So regarding liver, what is this liver all about? What is this big fuss about the liver, right? So liver is a vital organ, a very large vital organ in your abdomen, and it holds a very essential function for various things to regulate various metabolic activity in your body, such as to digest food. A lot of people think only stomach enough for digestion. No, you need the liver as well, right? To digest the food, to detoxify and remove toxins from the body. So it has a lot of functions over there, right? And based on WHO statistics in 2018, the total death for liver disease-related death is 2,480. That's 1.76% of total death, So it can be quite a rising concern, right? So nonetheless, I'm sure you guys wouldn't want to listen to me. You probably want to listen to someone who's a little bit more experienced. And for that, we have a very, very special guest here today, our guest speaker, a young and dashing gentleman here, all right? He's a UK-trained gastroenterologist, all right, hepatologist, and physician, graduated from the University of Manchester in 2007, and he's also accredited from the National Specialist Register Malaysia and General Medical Council UK. And he has vast experience in all aspects of gastroenterologist, and his area of subspecialty is in hepatology, inflammatory bowel disease, endoscopic ultrasound, and advanced endoscopy. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us welcome our dashing speaker for today, Dr. Sandeep Singh.
Hi.
Hi,
Good
Dr.
afternoon, everyone. Dr. Shashini, thank you so much for the kind introduction. You've been very generous with all your comments, and really thank you for that. And so first of all, thank you for the invite to speak on this webinar today, which is my liver in danger? So hopefully we will have a really good discussion about the liver, and the whole purpose of this webinar is really to create awareness of the liver. So that is what we're hoping for. And for everyone who's watching it today, yesterday was actually the World Hepatitis Day, which is why we decided to conduct this webinar for everyone to tune in.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunday, for joining us today. We're actually really looking forward. So we have actually a lot of questions, so I hope you're ready. All right. We have a lot of questions here to actually interview you, and along the way, the audience can also put in their questions, and Dr. Sandeep can answer as many as possible. We'll try and answer as many as possible, okay? All right. So, Dr. Sandeep, so what is actually the function of the liver? I mean, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier. We have always been talking about the heart, we talk about obesity, we talk about diabetes, but not many people talk so much about the liver. So maybe you can tell us what actually does the liver does?
I think you've already covered it, Dr. Shashini. You already talked about what metabolism and all that. That's it. But I have a simpler version, hopefully. So liver is such an important organ. You mentioned it's such a vital organ. If most people may not know this, it is actually the largest solid organ in the body after the skin. Okay, the skin is your largest organ, and then the liver. Okay, so I actually have a slide to show. Let me see if right. So I quite like this slide because it summarizes the function of the liver very simply. So our liver is essentially our factory, our transport system, our detox system, waste management system, and finally it's also our power storage system. So these are what I find the top 5 functions of the liver. So for example, as a factory, the liver produces bile, produces cholesterol, also produces important proteins, for example, amino acids, produces blood clotting factors, which helps us to process food and so on. For example, for blood clotting factors, for example, if you had a cut and you're bleeding, your liver actually produces the blood clotting factors to make sure that you don't continue bleeding. Okay, so it's a factory. Then moving on to the transportation system, so your liver produces bile, cholesterol, and all these essential products is actually sent out throughout your body. So it's a transport system. Most of us think that cholesterol is bad for our body, but in fact, we do need cholesterol for our body to function well. Okay. Then we also have liver, and one very important function is a detox system. It's a waste management system. So it filters out poisonous and harmful chemicals in your medications, in alcohol, and keeps your liver intact. Okay. And another important function of the liver would be as a power storage system. So your liver stores energy in the form of glycogen. Okay, so this glycogen will be then released into fast-acting sugar, which we normally need for like quick action. So, for example, if you want to go for a run, okay, so your liver will release this glycogen, which is a form of starch, to quick-acting sugar, so that you get the energy to do your run, for example. So yeah, that's essentially the quick summary of liver functions.
Thank you, Dr. Sandeep. Yeah, I think that was very nicely put. I like the way you made it very simple, the functions of liver and all that.
Yeah.
Very easy to understand.
Factory.
Yeah, excellent. So here's the thing. From what I know, there are various kind of liver diseases. And more often, these liver diseases are caused by various different functions. I mean, various causes, various causes. So it could be an infection, it could be, something hereditary, it could be a cancer. There's so many reasons for it. But from what I know, the commonest type of liver infection or liver disease is hepatitis. Am I right?
Yeah, correct. That's correct. Yeah. So,
right. And we have a whole range, right? Hepatitis A to E. Maybe you can elaborate on what is this, or hepatitis A to E, or how do you get it?
Okay. So first of all, I mean, hepatitis translates to inflammation of the liver. So itis is inflammation. Hepa is your liver. So your liver is inflamed. So, like you correctly said, viruses are one of the main causes of hepatitis, but there are also other causes. Okay, so I'm sure all of us know that alcohol can cause liver problems. So there's a condition called alcoholic hepatitis. There is also non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is usually due to obesity, diabetes, and so on. Then you mentioned cancer. There are other causes like autoimmune hepatitis. Autoimmune hepatitis is essentially a form of hepatitis that usually happens when your body's own immune system causes inflammation and scarring of your liver. Okay, so back to viral hepatitis. So the 5 main ones is A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, I hope everyone can look at this very simple slide. And the best way to understand is that hepatitis A and E is a food and water-borne virus. Okay, so you need contamination from food and water, dirty water, poor hand washing, especially if you after using the toilet you don't wash your hands properly, and then you go and handle food, or you get into the kitchen, that is one of the commonest ways of acquiring hepatitis A and hepatitis E. Okay, so the other main source of this hepatitis A and E is also through seafood. Okay, so like shellfish, any form of seafood, in fact. So if it's not fresh and it's not been cleaned properly, and the person handling handling the seafood is, has not washed their hands, so you can get hepatitis A and E. But the good thing about hepatitis A and E is it is rarely progressive to something more chronic. So it will last for about 2 to 6 weeks generally, and patients will generally get better. Okay, so that's hepatitis A and E. So with hepatitis B, C, and D, I'm sure all of you can see this. It is acquired by having blood contact, okay, or bodily fluid. So meaning that if a person with hepatitis B and C and D, that person's blood is exposed to someone's blood who is not infected, there is a risk of passing on that infection. So, for example, this could be through pregnancy. Okay, if a mother who has hepatitis B delivers, there is a small chance of that newborn child acquiring hepatitis B. Other examples would be things like sharing needles. So patients who drug injectors who are not cleaning the needles, or sharing needles, that's also a risk of acquiring the infection. Healthcare workers, we are in a hospital where we take blood from our patients, or we put lines in for our patients. If we don't protect ourselves, we don't glove up, there is also a risk of acquiring the infection through that contact. Others would be things like blood transfusions, but acquiring these infections from blood transfusion is quite rare these days, because our blood donation system or the screening system is so good that all our blood is screened for these viruses before it gets donated to a person who needs it. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clear explanation. I think that it shines a very clear light on how you get it, because I think a lot of people have this thought, am I getting hepatitis B? How can I get, hepatitis C? If I touch someone with hepatitis B or touch someone with hepatitis C, can I get
Always
it?
a worry. Yeah.
So no, guys, it's not possible.
No. Touching, hugging, all that does not happen.
Excellent. Thank you. You mentioned earlier about alcoholic liver disease. All right. So what is, I think that's pretty obvious over there. It goes with this name. How about this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? What is that all about?
Okay. So non-alcoholic fatty liver disease was never thought to be a liver disease, actually. It's only been getting a lot of traction over the last decade or so, because what we're seeing is patients who are obese, patients who have diabetes or blood pressure, cholesterol. So this all falls under the spectrum of metabolic syndrome. So these patients, for some reason, when you're obese, you have all these medical problems. All this causes inflammation and scarring to the liver. Okay, so when this inflammation and scarring is not controlled, that inflammation progresses. Okay, so the inflammation will progress to scarring and eventually to cirrhosis. So cirrhosis is a term used for how do I put this? End stage liver failure. Okay, so non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is normally seen in that sort of patients, that group of patients. You can also get non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in patients who drink a bit of alcohol, but it should not be like daily binging of alcohol and so on. And the treatment for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is actually to look after those problems you may have, like diabetes. If you're overweight, you're obese, if you have cholesterol, so you need to address all those factors. That is one of the most important, how shall I say this, most important ways of treating non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's not like viral hepatitis, like hepatitis B and C, there's medications for it. for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, is actually really down to the patient in him or herself. They have to put in the effort. We can support them, but they have to put in most of the effort.
Right. I quite understand, because I think a lot of people are looking for medication. They go to, they do this blood screening test, and then they find out that they've got this fatty liver, those kind of things. And everybody's like, what medication, what can I take, and all that. I think you made it very clear. It's more of their lifestyle, their dietary intake, their lifestyle, and control of their metabolic problems such as obesity and diabetes, right? You control that, you get to save the liver.
So our role really as a doctor, as a liver specialist, is really to try and prevent from complications from happening. We want to, we support our patients to, get, the diabetes and weight under control, but we want to make sure they don't get complications from it. So that's where we come in.
All right. And okay, so now we're talking so much about this liver disease and all that. How do we know you have a liver problem? What are the signs of a struggling liver or something? Do we have any signs?
Okay, so for liver disease, it's best to divide it to acute and chronic. Okay, to give you a rough idea of signs of a liver struggling. So for acute hepatitis or acute liver problems, you can have patients who have no symptoms whatsoever. So that's the asymptomatic group. Okay. So patients who have acute hepatitis may not have any symptoms. They may not know until they go and see a doctor and get some blood tests done. But there's also a proportion of patients who will have symptoms like fever, fatigue, just generally not well, not themselves. Malaise is the term, just not feeling up to it. They can have a bit of nausea, a bit of vomiting. They can also have some discomfort of where the liver is. So your liver is just below your rib cage on the right-hand side. So you can have some aching, discomfort there. Sometimes patients can get yellow in their eyes. Okay, so that's the term for that is called jaundice. They can get dark urine. So these are some of the signs of acute hepatitis. So it ranges from having no symptoms to a few symptoms. Whereas for the chronic hepatitis group, the symptoms are a bit more drastic. Okay, so generally they will get yellowing of the eye. They can have something called ascites. So ascites is where the stomach is filled up with fluid because your liver is not reabsorbing all this excess fluid. So that can happen. They can have swollen legs. They can have varicose veins all over their body, including the esophagus, which sometimes can cause problems like vomiting blood and so on. And also patients with chronic hepatitis or chronic liver problems sometimes get a bit muddled up. They may not be so sure about day and nighttime orientation. They may seem a bit more confused. And that's because of the excess of ammonia, which is a toxin that goes to your brain and causes that disorientation and confusion. So really there's that the signs and symptoms do vary between acute and chronic liver problems.
Very big difference, huh? You see, the acute one is a little bit more subtle. The chronic one, I think the simpler way is the person literally bloats up.
Yeah, so those are the ones that we commonly see in hospital, and they need attention.
Right. Yeah. And how about pregnant people? Pregnant people, breastfeeding women, and all that. Are they prone to get hepatitis?
Everyone will ask about pregnancy and breastfeeding. Yeah.
Very important, very specific group.
Yeah. What about it? Sorry, I missed the question.
No, can these people be prone to liver diseases?
Oh, okay. So a pregnant person or someone who's breastfeeding is at the risk of acquiring liver problems the same as anyone who's not pregnant and who's not breastfeeding. The risk does not vary, except for very few circumstances. So patients who are towards the later stages of the pregnancy, maybe after 30 weeks or so, they can have problems like preeclampsia, and they can also get acute fatty liver of the pregnancy. These are all fairly serious problems, and That usually happens in the later stages of pregnancy, but it's not very common. So, it doesn't happen very, very commonly. But generally, the risk of acquiring hepatitis is the same for anyone who is not pregnant or not breastfeeding. But there are ways to manage this. For example, if you have someone who is got hepatitis B, let's say a mother has hepatitis B, okay, they should be monitored by a hepatologist or a liver specialist, okay, and the aim of that pregnancy is to make sure that mother, we can reduce the risk of that newborn child not acquiring the virus. So there's ways of doing that. So there's very good medications that we have available these days that can prevent or reduce the risk of transmission of liver problems from the mother to child.
All right. Thank you. That's a very clear explanation. Some people are a little bit worried, right? Maybe pregnancy will increase my risk.
I think it's fine to get a bit worried, but there's help. There's help.
We have a question from the audience. This is from Muhammad Safari. Can hepatitis cause gallstones?
No.
Okay.
Hepatitis, no, should not cause gallstones. They're two separate problems.
All right. I hope that answers your question. So coming back to our session, what is your advice that you can share with us to keep our liver healthy?
Very simple, actually. Very simple. So it's the real basic advice, like someone who has heart problems, what do we tell them? We tell them to eat well, reduce weight, stop smoking, have a balanced diet of like fruits and vegetables and exercise. So the same goes with the liver. Okay, so these are the general advice we give our patients for liver problems as well. But there are also other specific advice specific to the liver. So we tell them, number one, reduce or stop alcohol. Okay, if you do drink alcohol, you need to make sure that whatever you're drinking is not exceeding the recognized limits. Okay, so the recognized limits is 14 units. So this is WHO standard. So 14 units a week. Okay, feel free to just Google what that means. So if you keep your alcohol, if you do drink, to less than 14 units a week, that should be good. The other thing as well is, don't take medications unnecessarily. Get them checked. Check with your doctor. There are lots of medications that can cause liver problems, including simple things like Panadol. Panadol in excess quantity can cause liver failure. I certainly have seen many patients, young patients as well, who have taken too much Panadol and have, ended up in hospital with serious liver problems. Then in Malaysia we have all the, the herbal remedies, the jamus and maybe Chinese traditional medications and all that. So you have to be really careful with them. Get them checked. Are they licensed? Are they regulated? So those are the things that you can do to ensure that you keep your liver healthy. Getting vaccination is also important. Okay, there are vaccinations for hepatitis B, so make sure you get your blood test for hepatitis B checked. Have you got adequate protection? If you haven't, get yourself vaccinated. What else? Coffee. Coffee is actually really good. So we're in a coffee talk, right? So I have my iced cold brew actually today for a change. So coffee in research has been proven to reduce the progression of liver problems, from just simple liver problems to liver scarring and also liver cancer. So coffee has been shown to reduce the risk of progression to liver cirrhosis and liver cancer. So
that's the best thing I've heard today.
Yeah. So drink coffee. Don't go crazy. Don't go and have like 5-6 cups of coffee, which will leave you with palpitations and so on. But as long as you drink 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day, it's good for your liver. So drink coffee.
That's probably one of the best advice I've heard today. For all the coffee lovers with us today, that's good news for you, right?
Good news, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Here's another question from Mimi Marina Jaffa. Can you explain what are the causes of liver cirrhosis?
Okay. So causes of liver cirrhosis is actually the ones that we've just been talking about actually. So alcohol, viral hepatitis, especially hepatitis B, C, and D, because if it's not controlled, there's not enough medications or adequate treatment, they can go on to chronic liver disease, which is also called cirrhosis. Okay. Then you have genetic causes. So genetic causes like autoimmune hepatitis. So autoimmune hepatitis is essentially autoimmune is where your body's defense system or your body's soldiers who are supposed to protect you, they attack you. They attack you. So that is a condition called autoimmune hepatitis. Okay. Other causes of liver cirrhosis, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which we're seeing more and more these days. They can cause liver cirrhosis. Genetic causes like Wilson's disease and all these weird and wonderful terminologies that we hear, we read in textbooks, but we don't really see them so much in clinical practice. Okay, so not to be worried about. There are others like hemochromatosis. Hemochromatosis is where you have excess iron in your body, and that iron affects your liver. It sits in your liver and causes the scarring and the inflammation in your liver. So those are the few main causes of liver cirrhosis.
Very big topic, liver cirrhosis. So many causes.
Yeah, it can take me 2 hours actually to go through all of them.
Maybe we'll save the details of that in the next session with Dr. Sandeep.
Another webinar, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Those of y'all who want to know in depth about liver cirrhosis can always contact Dr. Sandeep, yeah, through Dr. On-Call services.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Sandeep, so since we're talking again back and forth about hepatitis, a little bit more questions about this. For those people who have hepatitis or family members with hepatitis, will sharing food, sharing certain food with them cause any problem, or are they more prone on getting it?
So it really does go back to the different, causes or different varieties of viral hepatitis we have. So sharing food, if it's not clean, the person who's preparing it has not really washed their hands, and so on, then there is a risk of passing it on, especially with hepatitis A and E. Okay, because remember what I mentioned before, it's a food-borne virus. Okay, so you can get hepatitis A and E through that. But hepatitis B, C, and D, no, because it's a blood-borne virus. Unless you're eating and causing blood, and I don't know what sort of eating is that, but it should not cause hepatitis B, C, and D.
All right. How about our raw food? Many Malaysians or even globally, people like raw food like sushi and sashimi and raw oysters.
Yeah. Oysters,
there you go. So I'm sure there are a lot of people like you. Is this are we more prone to getting hepatitis A and E when you consume this kind of raw food?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it's not fresh, not clean, then there is a risk of that. So just be careful. Whenever you have this raw, sashimi, sushi, and so on, just go to places that you're comfortable with, that that whatever's being served is fresh. As long as it's fresh, then you should not get these viruses.
All right, and you're talking about hepatitis B, C, and D, regarding bloodborne. So how about sharing personal items such as razors or toothbrushes? Some people may have this bond with people where they share certain personal items, toothbrush and razors and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, when you shave and toothbrush, there must be some blood on it. Will that cause a transmission?
Yeah, there is a small risk of transmission because there could be blood contact. But I must say the risk is really small. Okay, the risk is really small, but there is a risk. What's also important is, for people out there who, may be into acupuncture and getting tattoos done and so on. It's also important to make sure whoever's doing this for you, adequately protected. They're screened for these sort of viruses, especially hepatitis B and C. But sharing, like back to your question, sharing toothbrushes and razors, there is a risk, but the risk is really small. But maybe just use your own toothbrush and your own razors.
I have to agree with you. I think before we share the love, we should check the blood reports first to make sure we're clean of everything.
Exactly. Do not take anything for granted.
All right. And now to one of the most famous questions currently been spoken of, COVID-19. Almost everything is related to COVID-19 today. So will COVID-19 affect my liver?
Okay, COVID-19 and the liver. So what we do know about COVID-19 and liver is that it's the same way as how dengue fever, the severe forms of dengue, which is a virus, can affect the liver. It can cause liver test abnormalities. And what we're seeing with COVID as well is that it can do the same thing with the liver. It will cause some abnormalities in the liver blood test, but it is usually transient. So when I say transient, what I mean is that it is short-lived. It will affect your liver for that short period of time. And once that patient recovers from the COVID infection, the liver will also recover. Okay, there's a few reasons why we think COVID is affecting the liver. One is because when someone has COVID, and especially when they're admitted to hospital, it's usually category 3, 4, and 5, and they have symptoms and they need oxygen support and so on. So this group of patients usually will require medications like antibiotics, steroids, antiviral treatment. So all these group of medications, they have a tendency of causing liver problems or liver test abnormalities. So we think that a lot of our patients have liver problems or liver test abnormalities is because of the medications they use to treat their COVID. Okay, so that's one possible reason. Now the other reason is because when someone has COVID, your body's immune system or your body's defense system is trying to fight off the infection. So when we're trying to fight off the infection, our liver is also trying to help you and to fight off the infection. When the liver does that, it gets a bit of a hit as well. Okay, it gets a bit of a hit, which causes the inflammation in your liver. That inflammation in your liver translates to the blood test abnormalities that we see on the blood test. Yeah. So yeah, it will affect the liver, but very short-lived.
Right. Were there any cases, or maybe in your experience in this last 1 year or so, because of COVID-19, that transient liver damage that had happened progressed to be a liver failure or a cirrhosis or anything like that?
No.
No.
We've not really seen, although we have heard of 1 or 2 cases, very rare cases in the worldwide, studies that this has happened. But personal experience and experience in Malaysia, we've not seen cases like this. So it's reassuring for everyone, that your liver will recover. The caveat to that is that if you already have liver problems in the first place, and you have COVID on top of that, then it's a different, ball game. Then things could progress. But if you have no liver problems in the first place, then you'll be fine.
All right, thank you for clearing that out. How about the vaccines? Now there's a big topic about the vaccines, which vaccine to take. So there are so many vaccines. I think in Malaysia, the 3 types, the Pfizer, the Sinovac, and the AstraZeneca. So taking these vaccines for COVID-19, will it affect the liver?
Generally, no. Generally, I think if you can get hold of a vaccine, go get the vaccine. I don't think it matters for your liver. But I think none of this, the discovery or the manufacturing of vaccine has been so quick, because all the manufacturers have had to come up with vaccines really quickly because the pandemic was getting out of hand. So none of these vaccines have been studied specifically for liver problems. Okay, but from experience and from what we know from lots of research in the West and even in Asia, that it does not cause liver problems. But what I have found is that if someone has liver problems and they have the vaccine, it may not be as effective as someone who has no liver problems. So let's say patient A with no liver problems has Pfizer, and patient B who has liver problems also has Pfizer. For patient B who has liver problems, the effectiveness may not be as good as patient A. But generally, if you complete your 2 doses, you will have, how should I put it, adequate protection, even though the protection may not be as great as the person A who has no liver problems. So even if you have liver problems, the protection may not be as great, but it will be enough to get you out of hospital if you do have COVID. Because at the moment, our priority is, now we know that even despite vaccination, you can still have COVID. But the aim now is to make sure that we don't end up in hospital with COVID. If you have COVID and if you're at home and well and just doing your quarantine, that's okay. You just don't want to end up in hospital.
Excellent. So I think that's a very good message over there for those of you all tuning in with us. I think one thing I want to highlight from what Dr. Sandeep has said is, if you had a chance to go and get your vaccine, that's a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Having some immunity is better than no immunity. And third of all, don't overthink it. It doesn't cause a liver problem.
Just get it.
Yes. Get it. Yeah. All right. And so here's a question as well from the audience, from Muhammad Safari. Doctor, why bloating belly happens in hepatitis patients?
Bloating belly, okay. Bloating belly should not happen in hepatitis patients in the acute stage. When I say acute, I mean the early stages. It should not cause bloating belly. If it's happening in the early stages, then it's probably due to something else, not due to hepatitis. But if that has progressed to chronic hepatitis or chronic liver problems, then you can have bloating belly, and that is usually due to excess fluid, excess water that's accumulated in your abdomen. Okay, and that is called ascites. That's the medical term for it. Okay.
All right, and here we have another
question. I hope that
answers
the question. Yeah.
Here we have another question from Lukesh. Okay. All right, hi doctor. Protein is something which is consumed by most fitness enthusiasts or bodybuilders. How harmful are they? It's a two-parter actually. How harmful are those? And also creatinine, or is consuming more water the solution, and how much?
Okay. So generally taking protein, creatinine is okay. Generally is okay. But from personal experience, I have seen maybe less than 5 patients throughout my career so far that have presented with acute liver problems. So very serious liver problems because of this. So it really goes down to taking these protein and creatinine that has been used before, has been tested, has been regulated and licensed. Okay. If it's a new product which has not been tested, then my advice generally would be to try and refrain from them, because I have seen some fairly severe liver cases presenting to hospital from taking protein for bodybuilding and so on.
And is consuming water the solution for this? Does water make a difference?
I don't know the exact answer to this, but I don't think it makes a difference, to be fair.
All right.
I don't think it makes a difference.
Dr. Sandeep, another question from Mr. Lukesh here. What is the best way to detox our liver?
Okay, so detox our liver. I mean, if you look like online or even like all these health screening outlets, they will say, oh, liver detox, do this, do that, drink this, drink that. Generally, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't think you need to do all that. Liver detox, in my opinion, the best way is to, what I mentioned before, eat well. Eat well, eat healthily, exercise at least 3 times a week, try and lose weight. If you have all these medical problems like diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, get that under control. That is your liver detox, okay? Green tea is good, coffee is good, but I generally do not advise, buying certain powders from so and so health shop to say, oh, this is good for your detox. You know me, that sort of thing. I generally do not advise because I don't think it's needed.
All right.
And we also have blood tests to support this. Generally, patients who do all the basic liver care strategy, they generally have no liver issues.
All right. So, guys, let's stick to basic, okay? Goes back again to dietary and lifestyle. Okay, don't try to take alternative things. We've got a lot of Dr. Googles nowadays, we Google how to detox the liver, and there's a whole list that comes out. You take this, you take this, you take this.
So some of it can be harmful. Some of it can be quite harmful, so you have to be careful with whatever you take.
Excellent. So, Dr. Sandeep, you're talking about, watch your weight, try and reduce weight and all. Does being overweight or obese affect my liver in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the what we call the spectrum of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So when you're obese and overweight, the fat actually takes over your liver. Okay, you will see a layer of fat surrounding your liver. So having a layer of fat around the liver is just the first step. If that is not controlled, it can progress to scarring and inflammation of the liver. Okay, so if that is not taken care, it can just progress. So definitely, being overweight and being obese can affect the liver. And this is one of the commonest causes nowadays, actually, of patients presenting with advanced liver problems and even liver cancer. So, so if you imagine if you lose weight, control your weight, you are really reducing your risk of developing liver, like really serious liver problems, including liver cancer.
All right. So, guys, I think that was a very important piece of information. I think we are all quite aware that Malaysians, especially, we are number one in obesity in the whole of Southeast Asia. Yeah, of course, our food is excellent. But what we probably didn't know is this obesity can lead to further things, other things such as diabetes and also liver disease, apparently, based on our expert speaker over here.
Very common now.
Yeah. So something probably we have to look into. So now, Dr. Sandeep, in general, is liver disease curable?
Yeah. So again, it goes back to the types of liver disease that we are encountering. Okay, I mentioned hepatitis A and E before. So these are all acute viruses that is short-lived. Generally, will affect you for 2 weeks, maybe up to 6 weeks, and it will clear off, and you will be cured. For hepatitis B and C, there's lots of medications now available, really good medications, and they can also cure you of the viruses. Okay. So these are some of the examples of liver problems that is curable. But there are also other liver problems that is not curable, and that happens when the acute phase goes on to chronic liver cirrhosis, chronic liver scarring, and this can be due to alcohol. So if you have alcoholic hepatitis and you continue to drink alcohol and you go on to the next stage, which is liver cirrhosis, liver failure, then unfortunately that is no longer curable unless you have a liver transplant, which is not easy to get.
Right. Yeah. I think that's something we should all take note of. If you don't have the disease, I think prevention is better than cure. And if you're at early stage, probably some lifestyle changes can make a difference, because once it goes to the later stage, there's no turning back, I believe. Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Sandeep, what, in your opinion, when should an individual go get themselves checked whether or not they've got a liver disease? Or what are the
Okay.
tests? What are the tests they can do?
Okay, so to get checked for liver problems, okay. I think everyone should have a baseline, liver check or a health check, everyone, I think, should have one, especially once they've reached the adult age. There are lots of health screening packages available in, even on doctor on call, hospitals, everywhere. And the things that you can get checked is first of all, your liver blood test. You want to check for hepatitis B, C, HIV. You want to check whether you have adequate antibodies for your hepatitis B. You may want to get an ultrasound scan done of your liver to see whether you have any fatty liver or liver scarring. So these are the very simple tests that we can do to get our liver checked. There are, though, a few group of patients that should definitely get their liver checked. So that would include patients who have comorbidities. So they have medical problems like diabetes, hypertension, asthma, lung problems. These are the patients that should definitely get checked. Patients who people who are like us who are in the health care industry, we should also get checked because we are, we commonly see patients who have various problems, who we sometimes take blood from them, put lines in, staff who are in the dialysis centers, they should also get checked. So generally these are the group of people that should get checked. But as a rule, everyone should get checked at least once, especially in their adulthood stage. And then depending on what that shows, you can decide how often or how frequent you should get your liver checked.
Dr. Sandeep, you're saying that as adults, even normal people should get tested. Is there a specific age group or something where at this point you should be doing a regular check on a yearly basis or something like that? Is there like a cutoff?
Yeah, maybe after the age of 21, 22, you can get, it's not a hard or fast rule, but after that age, maybe you should get checked. I don't think it needs to be yearly, especially if your initial screening has been okay, and you're healthy, and you exercise and you do all the things that I've mentioned before. Then generally yearly is not needed. But if there are problems that are found, then maybe you need yearly.
All right. So for those of y'all who would like to do your liver checkup or liver blood test, you can actually go on Doctor On Call platform over there, where we've got a hepatitis A, hepatitis B home blood test package as well. Okay, so you can look into the chat box over there. There's a link over there for those of y'all who want to get your liver checked at the comfort of your own home. There is a voucher code that you can use where you get RM 10 ringgit off. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that brings to the end of this session for today. Thank you so much, Dr. Sandeep, for patiently answering all our questions today. All right. It is a pleasure having you today. I think we all collectively learned quite a bit, including myself. You had a fantastic way of telling us what is the function of the liver. You sort of briefly put it, the factory, how it transports, it detoxes, it's a power storage, and how it's a waste management all together in one. And also you had elaborated on what are the causes of liver disease and the signs and symptoms to diagnose the acute from the chronic. But ladies and gentlemen, you all don't go and diagnose by yourself. We still need a specialist to tell you in detail. Don't go back and say, Dr. Sandeep told me I look a little bit yellow, therefore I've got a liver disease. No, you still need a specialist consult. And for those of y'all who wish to consult Dr. Sandeep specially, our handsome young specialist over here, you can... I must say the truth. You may book an appointment with him, especially by clicking the link in the chat box. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's all from us today. Thank you for joining us in Is My Liver in Danger? Thank you, Dr. On Call, for organizing this. And thank you once again, Dr. Sandeep, for being with us here today.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in, and thank you, Dr. Ankor, for the invite, and Dr. Shashini for all your very flattering comments.
Thank you, ladies and
Comments.
gentlemen.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful evening. Signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye.